right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, we are live on this Wednesday evening, coming back from our little mini hiatus. Jake, we just basically took a little break after the Rams season ended. As we always do, and we've, still been obviously talking about the Rams online, been following the news. We just haven't been doing this show. But it is so good to be back. It's always weird for me when I get back into the swing of doing shows again because you do this all the time. I am just doing this mostly. So whenever I come back onto our show, I have to shake the rust off and get back into my podcast mindset because I'm now immersed into it. I'm not just watching from afar. But Jake, it's going to be probably a shorter episode today, but we're going to, recap kind of what the Rams have done so far this offseason. Now that the offseason is officially underway, they've made some pretty big moves. So we're going to talk about that, talk about what we think they still need to do in free agency going forward, and then, answer any super chats that potentially come our way, read the comments, and we're now in off-season mode. And Jake, I said this before the show, but I was saving it for the show. This is going to be our draft show this year. I believe our 7th annual Downtown Rams NFL draft stream.
That's crazy.
So is that not insane?
That means we're getting close to a decade.
I know. We're almost there. We're over halfway there.
That's pretty gnarly when you think about it. I mean,
because,
yeah, it's time flies.
2019. Yeah, 2019 was the first one that we did. And we've done it every year since 2019. And we talked about this on the show before, but it's so interesting and awesome when people, I know that you get this as well, when people are they're not really podcast listeners, but they're like, oh, we watch your draft show every year. I don't know, if that is common or not, but I get a lot of people message me and they're like, yeah, we don't really listen to your show, but we watch your draft stream. Or a lot of people will check out our show or check out our draft stream and then they'll listen to our show because of the draft stream, because I think a lot of people have it can be long to watch the NFL Network or ESPN during the draft. It can be intense. So we definitely try to have a party over at Downtown Rams. And I know a lot of people in my real life who watch our show every year and are looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of those things that I don't think we can really replicate. The vibes are completely different. And obviously that's what happens, when you're talking about, something where we're going to be live for 13 hours. I mean, I've done a live stream for 24 straight hours before. I will tell you, when you stream that long, the whole professional thing kind of goes out the window.
The longest live stream I think that I know I've ever done was when we did our charity one for LA wildfire relief, and I think that was someone would be able to check this probably, but it was was it 8 or 10 hours? It was maybe longer than 10 hours. It was a long time.
It was a lot of hours.
It was a lot, and I just remember because we thought we'd be done by dinner, and then we kept going, and so it was 1 a.m. and we were door dashing. Do you remember that?
Yes,
because it was we had not eaten and we were starving. That was a very long, and that was awesome though, because we were able to do a lot of good doing that long of a live stream. But yeah, no, the NFL draft is going to be a lot of fun, guys, so just put that on your calendars. Jake and I are live during the entire draft. So that's night 1, Thursday night 2, Friday night, and then Saturday is the really crazy day, because that's where we're just hanging out. People come in and out. We're live all day. So I'm really looking forward to that. But before we get to the draft, Jake.
Yes.
We got to have free agency. We got to have the beginning of the offseason. And the Rams, off the bat, addressed what I think most Rams fans have been talking about since our playoff run, and that's the secondary. The Rams were so close, and it still stings. It's better now, but I mean, the NFC Championship game We were in it with the Seattle Seahawks. We were not able to overcome the Seahawks. Obviously, we know what happens there. Seahawks go off and win. We say, okay, looking at the playoff run and looking at the season, what was the biggest weakness for the Rams? And I think a lot of us felt that the Rams secondary was just far too unreliable. So going into the offseason, it looks like, Jake, the Rams thought so as well. Because immediately we see a trade for Trent McDuffie, which is a guy who a lot of people thought the Rams could be interested in. I think that you were as well. And they go grab him. They trade for him. They don't only trade for him, they then sign him to an extension, making him the highest paid cornerback in the league. So they really put a ton of faith in Trent McDuffie there. And then, Jake, they didn't only do that. They go out and then sign his former teammate with the Chiefs, Jalen Watson, at corner as well. So the Rams went from all these question marks at cornerback. All of us are like, they got to draft one at 13, or they got to trade for somebody, or sign somebody. Like, we don't have a cornerback one. What's going on? Like, we went from that to now getting cornerback one and cornerback two in a week. I think it was less than a week apart from each other.
Yeah.
Let's start there, because there's a couple of other things that we could talk about, for the offseason. But, Jake, to me, the signing of these two corners is massive, and I think it signals to fans that the Rams heard loud and clear what was wrong, and they're attempting to fix it. So, Jake, what are your thoughts on these new cornerbacks for the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it wasn't too much to give up for Trent McDuffie. I personally would have just double dipped in free agency. I would have signed Jalen Watson and Jamel Dean, I think. I think that's what I would have done. Since Josh Jobe ended up going back to the Seahawks, I know the Rams had interest there. He went back on a really good deal for them. I never wanted Tariq Woolen. Penalty machine, 22% missed tackle rate. I knew a lot of people were all up in his grill. I wanted nothing to do with him. Plus, the lapse, I don't care what anyone says. The mental lapse to get that penalty, I don't care what anyone says about that call. That can't happen. You know what I mean? So I wanted them to focus on a guy that had basically what they look for in this defense. I mean, if you want to play cornerback for this defense, I know it sounds crazy to have these stipulations, but this is what the Rams are looking for. These two guys both have a quick downhill trigger. And what I mean by that is they're able to run downhill, and they can make plays in either the run game or the screen game. They're going to tackle and they're going to finish. And you're not going to sit there and say, oh, well, now they need 5 other guys to help them gang tackle. No, these guys can tackle one-on-one. They're both very good at it. And I think they both complement each other well. And I think that's obviously why Kansas City went with the 7th rounder at Washington State and Jalen Watson, because his 6'2" frame complemented McDuffie, And so McDuffie has inside-outside versatility. Watson can now go up against the bigger receivers that McDuffie would likely get manhandled by. So it works out very well. Also, Quentin Lake, a lot of people were worried about putting him or having to push him back to safety. Nope. They went out and they signed 2 safeties this offseason. They got Cam Curl, and of course they got Quentin Lake before the offseason. But that to me is big, because it goes to show you that the Rams see things very clearly right now. They're seeing themselves as a team that is probably the best in the league at this point, and they just need to shore up that secondary. And if they shore up that secondary, it's going to help the pass rushers. Now, I will say this, Alexis. I do think they've gotten a little bit overhated. I thought Kobe Durant would have been a really good piece to bring back, and I was kind of bummed to see him gone. Having him as a CB3 or CB4, I think makes your cornerback room that much better. He had 6 interceptions, 3 of which came in the playoffs. I know he gave up the touchdown. I know some people would say arguably there was a push off from Cole Kmet, but either way, he gave up the touchdown, but he had some big moments in the playoffs, and I don't think that's something that we should just ignore. And honestly, the coverage on Cooper Kupp on that final play I thought was pretty good. I mean, I don't know what you want from him there, but all things aside, I think the Rams really see it kind of similar to the Jared Goff instance, we had the best defense in the league in 2020, but we had Jared Goff at quarterback. So now all of a sudden it's like, well, we really should have won the Super Bowl this year. There was no excuse. We were right on the doorstep. It's time for us to go out and get Matthew Stafford. And so they had that internal discussion. They did that, and he was the missing piece. And I think this is how they view this team, is that these two guys are essentially the missing piece. And now the reason why the Rams have been somewhat quiet since is because they don't really have needs. I mean, I understand, you could look into the future, but if we're just talking about winning in 2026, Alexis, the only thing that I think they actually need, and I'll push back on anybody saying otherwise, is wide receiver 3. That's it. That's the one thing I think they absolutely need. Everything else, they have a starter at. You can say maybe you want more of a coverage linebacker. I think Spates kind of got a little underrated at the end of the season. But you could say that. That doesn't mean that's a need. I mean, let's not forget Nate Landman played very good football, and then Quentin Lake went down, and you started to see him struggle. But, I mean, we've seen what he can do. We've also seen what Spates can do. We've seen what Dolak can do. And now they just added Grant Stewart to the mix. They bolstered their special teams unit. They go out and get a new special teams coordinator. Alexis, they don't have needs aside from going out and getting a wide receiver 3. And there are a lot of people that hear that. And they're looking at their teams around the league, and they're like, you have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. You don't need another receiver. Wrong. Okay? If you go back and you look, I mean, think about this. The other day, I was watching the Rams NFC Championship game against the Saints in 2018 to 2019 season. And what I came away with was how impressive Josh Reynolds was when his best had to be required. I mean, literally, they didn't have Cooper Kupp, and he stepped up in a big way in that game and throughout the playoffs and throughout the, down the stretch. I think having somebody like that is what they're lacking. And I've gone as far as to say on this channel that if the Rams had somebody as simple as Demarcus Robinson playing over Konate Mumfield, they win the Super Bowl. I think they were really, you could argue that, maybe if Xavier Smith doesn't fumble, whatever. But I think it's that simple, Alexis. You add that big body target, wide receiver 3 that's on the same page with Stafford. I mean, I think it's a completely different ballgame. I really do. So, yeah, wide receiver 3 to me. I don't know what your thoughts are. That to me is the number one need. Obviously, I need to get a backup quarterback too. I believe it'll be Kirk Cousins when it's all said and done.
I agree. Wide receiver 3. I think, like you said, you've got Nacua and Adams, but you know what? Health isn't guaranteed in the NFL, and we know that as well. So, you lose one of those guys, there really isn't anybody on the team right now that I think can naturally fill into one of those roles. So I think you want to go out and get like a Juwan Jennings is my favorite pick at the moment.
Yep.
But, there's a couple guys out there that, you can go grab. And I don't think that rules out the Rams drafting a receiver. I mean, they, we'll talk about the draft in a different episode, but, looking at the free agency pool and everything right now, I think you still want to go get a wide receiver 3. I don't think that you want to rely on the draft, especially looking at the board and looking at how many teams arguably need to get a wide receiver 1. I just don't think it's a guarantee for the Rams at 13, and I also don't see the Rams trading up. We'll talk more about that, but I think that you want to look at free agency. As you said earlier, this is the time to address your needs. Then you go into the draft and you're able to move around a little bit. You touched on middle linebacker. I agree with you. I don't think that's like a position the Rams are going to be actively seeking out in free agency. Again, I think that could be something that if it's best available at 13 and you can't trade out, maybe you take a middle linebacker there. But I think that really, like you said, wide receiver 3 is, to me, if I'm ranking what the Rams still need, it's that guy that can step in should your starting receivers go down, somebody who can fill in. I know that you've got like Terrence Ferguson, who I hope we see more of this season, who is kind of like that hybrid tight end receiver type role, but I still think you go out and you get a wide receiver 3. So we'll see. I hope it's Jennings. He's still unsigned as of right now.
Interesting stuff there, because I had heard that Jennings was in play for the Broncos, and then they go out and they get Jalen Waddle, And I just did a video on this, Alexis. I'm curious your thoughts on this. I do think the Jalen Waddle move, coupled with AJ Brown, I guess we got to address that too. It's interesting because that happening means the Dolphins now probably need to, you could argue they need a receiver. They could be picking one at 11 and it hurts the Rams. But at the same time, I was thinking about this and it was brought up on the NFC West Roundtable by somebody whose name I'm totally forgetting. So I apologize for that. There was a super chat that came up and they brought up the idea of going after Marvin Mims, which I've mentioned multiple times. But the one that I'm really interested in now is Troy Franklin. Franklin was a 700-yard receiver last year, really came into his own, 6 touchdowns, only in year 2, and, he's like 22, 23 years old. Franklin as a wide receiver 3 would be really fun. Plus, he can take the top off the defense. He's 6'3". He's not the best blocker, but he's gotten better. If he was in play, I think I would really be interested in that. And then that led me to wondering, with Jalen Waddle off the board and A.J. Brown not of interest for the Rams anymore, could they trade for a guy? And I had mentioned like Cedric Tillman could be an option, but that's more depth, I would say. I don't think I would just put him at wide receiver 3. But then I got to thinking, and I think there's a guy who's super underrated on the Packers. And that player is Dontavion Wicks. I think he is an incredible separator, like outstanding route runner. And I just think, despite having really good quarterback play there, the Packers have 1 million receivers. So it's like, that guy's just kind of sitting there. They just added Sky Moore. You have Golden, you got Watson, you got Jaden Reed. There's just a lot of receivers that are, plugging up all of the opportunities. If he was available, I think I would go after him as well. So I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on the trade market because I don't think it's going to be a Jalen Waddle and AJ Brown like people might want. But I think you could find a really good value player in somebody like a Wicks or somebody like, Troy Franklin.
So, I don't know. I haven't really felt that the Rams would make a trade at wide receiver. So I haven't really, thought about it as intently. I'll say Troy Franklin could be interesting, but I do know that he's very close with Bo Nix.
He is, but they got Waddle. They got Cortland Sutton.
I know, but he's like part of that core, one of those guys. I don't know.
And they drafted Pat Bryant. See what I mean?
I mean, I would sooner think Pat Bryant's available for trade than Troy Franklin.
They like him more, apparently.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have an issue trading. I mean, depending on what their asking price is, trading for Troy Franklin. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that all the guys that I really would like for the Rams are free agents. But I guess I'd have to look more. I don't think the Packers trade Wicks. I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. These might be after draft scenarios. You know what I mean? I still think
fair.
That's fair. The Rams are probably going to try to find the best quality free agent signing. And then I do think they're going to target a receiver at 13 or trade back. Or maybe they take a tight end.
So
just knowing the Rams.
Another thing that came up today was that why the Rams are apparently out on A.J. Brown. They didn't like the preliminary injury stuff, the health concerns. Immediately what came to my mind, and it sucks because I've actually really started to like him as a fit. I think Omar Cooper Jr. is the best fit for the Rams. I do. But this was my second guy I was really starting to like. Jordan Tyson. And when I heard the AJ Brown stuff, Alexis, my first thought, I don't know about you, my first thought is, yeah, if they're that against going after a guy with injury concerns and trading away a first rounder for a player, I understand he's older, but wouldn't it be weird now to then go back and be like, yeah, we're actually going to use our 13th overall pick to get a guy with more injury concerns? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't personally think the AJ Brown thing was as it was reported. I don't think the Rams had a ton of interest. I think that that was a little bit of bending the truth to try and increase AJ Brown's trade value. But I do agree with you about drafting a guy with injury concerns. And it is interesting because it's like, I do think that the Rams are interested in a receiver, but I know that like you and I feel kind of the same about Lemon, where we really like him, but I don't know necessarily if he's the best fit out of who's available for the Rams because I think that he is like, everybody keeps calling him Puka Jr., right? Or Puka Nakua Jr. I'm like, I think the Rams are looking for something different if you're targeting receiver in the first round. So I don't know. And I know that we're not supposed to really be talking about the draft, but it is interesting when you're looking at the free agent market.
We can talk about the draft.
I mean, I think it's interesting when you look at the free agent market because I think that that's probably where the Rams are going to find what they want. And because I don't think, and we talked about this earlier to start the episode, is the Rams are all in, right? Like they want to be going into the draft with nothing they really need. And I think that they do want to get a wide receiver 3. So I don't think that's something they're going to wait for the draft to gamble on because you never know what can happen, right? Somebody trades up, all your guys are gone, you're not able to trade up, whatever it might be. So I think that they're probably going to try to sign somebody before then. We'll see. But I do think the Rams are in a good spot, kind of like you said. Like I don't think that there's any glaring holes. I think like if I was nitpicking, I'd be like, well, I kind of want offensive line depth, right? I know everybody's like, oh, well, they can go get that in the draft. I'm like, yeah, but like, I think that we all have kind of like war flashbacks with the Rams offensive line, right? Of like people going down and like, Stafford's coming back. Like you have to protect Matthew Stafford, which is again why like I'm not entirely against drafting a tackle in the first round. It wouldn't be my pick. I don't think it's like a need. But like if you can't trade out and that's best available, go ahead, take the tackle. Like I don't want to risk having a shaky offensive line. So we'll see. But again, that's kind of like
Cornelius Lucas is sitting right there. I know he's older, but he's got really good experience. He was with the Rams in 2017, and so McVay knows him. But he was also with Washington with Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Johnson, who are a part of this coaching staff. And I know I keep connecting those two. Like, oh yeah, they're going to get Marcus Mariota. Oh, they might be interested in this guy and this guy. And they just, I don't know why every one of those Commanders free agents re-signed with the Commanders. I don't know why, but they did. This is one that I think they might go to that well. Cornelius Lucas, George Fant, Kendall Lamb. These are good swing tackles that I think make sense. I really wanted them to go after the guy the Bears got. Okay. I want them to get Jedrick Wills. I think, Wills might not have been the perfect fit in a, win now type of season, but I have a feeling that he's just not a left tackle. And it's as simple as he was a dominant right tackle, and then they moved him to left and leave it to the Browns to mess up a career. Like, I honestly think it could be just as simple as that. I would have liked to see them pick him up. And then there's some guys in the interior. Greg Van Roten plays like every freaking snap. He's an Iron Man. That would be great for the depth. Austin Corbett. Do they go back to the Super Bowl well, bring Austin Corbett in, right? Graham Glasgow, familiarity with Matthew Stafford. I mean, these are players that are out there currently that I think could make a difference. So, I mean, we'll see like what direction they go in. Alex Cappa, Will Hernandez, those are some names to look out for. I don't know if the Rams are going to add any more offensive line. They may just look to the draft, but the point being is there are definitely some guys that are remaining in free agency that could help this team. And, you said it, Jawan Jennings is by far, my opinion, the best option currently. I will say if I had to choose between him and Brandon Ayuk, and Ayuk becomes available and I could get him on the cheap 1-year deal, I think I'm going to go with Ayuk because he'd be cheaper. And I think the upside is actually greater with Ayuk. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Rams. Inside, outside versatility, great blocker. And you know Jesse, because you went on NFC West Roundtable in relief for me. Jesse has some sources really close to the 49ers, and he said, like, and these, you know, he's not normally wrong. And he said, maintain this for most of the season. He's still saying it to this day. Brandon Ayuk, it's not as simple as he's like the bad guy here. The 49ers had buyer's remorse when they signed him, you know, and then Ayuk essentially was working out away from the team and they got pissed about it, you know, because of the threat of an injury. And of course we saw, you know, Cam Akers had this issue with the Rams. And then, but here's the thing. It's kind of a, you know, double thing here because Nick Bosa does the same thing and they don't care. Ayuk does it, now they care. So they made a big deal about Ayuk and, you know, they told him, you know, whatever, not to, you know, he got ready. Apparently what I was told is that he ended up becoming healthy and they weren't going to play him. So he said, okay, if you're not going to play me, then I'm just going to leave. And keep in mind, he didn't fight the 49ers at all. He didn't make it ugly. He gave back the money, like the guarantees and everything. He didn't fight that. So it just feels to me like there's definitely a guy in Brandon Ayuk that could be an option here who has familiarity with this type of offense, who's getting demonized right now, and he might actually not be that bad. And like, yeah, the speeding thing or whatever on social media, I didn't love that, but like that's like stupid shit. But like, you know what I mean, Alexis? Like if there's actually merit there, and I believe Jesse, you know, if there's merit there, I don't see how Ayuk is a bad option for the Rams.
I mean, it's certainly something to monitor. I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think if you can get him for cheap and you want to take that risk, then you take that risk. I still think I prefer Jennings. I think I trust Jennings.
I love Jennings.
You know, we've seen a lot of him and, you know, he's been very solid, you know, for the 49ers. So I think if I had to take my pick, I'm still going Juwan Jennings, but we'll see. I think that, you know, we're on the right track in the sense that the Rams definitely are going to be inquiring about wide receiver 3. So either that ends up being Ayuk or Jennings or they look elsewhere. Not entirely sure, but I do think that they will try to address it before the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's fair. Jennings has been my guy for a while that I want them to get, and I hope they do. I also like Keenan Allen's fit because he can play inside, outside, and he's still really good, and he's a really good separator, and you're going all in. Getting Keenan Allen doesn't mean... Like, honestly, for the people that want Mekhi Lemon, you should be rooting for the Rams to pick up another receiver. You should be rooting for them to pick up one of those guys that has that versatility. That way they can just draft the receiver that they just love. Because Mekhi Lemon is a very good player. I have no doubt. If the Rams draft him, I'm not going to be upset. I like him a lot, actually. I know every Rams fan thinks I hate him now because I never mock him to the Rams. But the reality is his functional strength is lacking. So much so I can't count on him as a blocker, right? And I can't count on him on the outside to win against press coverage. So when I have those two things I have to worry about, now he becomes a limited player in the slot. That's why everybody has him projected in the slot. But guess what? If I'm going to use him in the slot all the time and strictly in the slot, I can't use Puka Nacua in the slot. And that's the thing. I'm trying to generate different matchups. I'm trying to get Puka in the best position to succeed. I'm trying to keep him in the middle of the field. That way he can continue to churn out yards. But if I have, you know, Mekhi Lemon there, I just don't think that's a great fit for Nacua. And that's kind of what I've been saying the whole time. It's really just the lack of functional strength that doesn't allow me to feel comfortable with him on the outside and him as a blocker in general, because he's willing, he frames, but he gets shoved back in college. And if that's happening in college, what's going to happen in the NFL? I mean, he's going to get bench pressed. So, Yeah, that's just my thing there. I really like the idea of getting a Jennings, an Ayuk, maybe even a Keenan Allen, and still drafting a receiver. They don't have to take a receiver 13. I just think that if you have somebody that you absolutely love, you should take them. I was just saying last night on the roundtable, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm taking Jeremiah Love. He's by far the best player available. You have Trey McBride. You have Michael Wilson. We're hoping Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up being what we thought he was going to be. You have a decent offensive line. If you go out and get Jeremiah Love, it's like getting Todd Gurley the year the St. Louis Rams got him in 2015. That was a stable piece, okay? That added stability. So then when Sean McVay took over, obviously the 2016, we're not even going to talk about high school offense, all of that. When Sean McVay took over, he's like, oh, I got Todd Gurley. Made it a lot easier on Jared Goff. Made it a lot easier on a young coach in Sean McVay. And I feel like the same thing would be said with LaFleur. My entire point of bringing that up is that if you love the guy, I don't care what position it is. If the Rams are sitting there at 13 and they fall in love with, I don't know, what's his name? The Georgia tackle. Freeland? Is that it?
Freeling?
Freeling, yes. If they fall in love with Freeling, all I have to hear is that they absolutely loved him. He was their number one player on their board, and I'm not going to complain. Because they are not like other teams. They are not like other teams. They have a team, like we just talked about, that doesn't have many needs. And you could argue going out and getting somebody like that, if they feel like he's, the best on their board, well, now there's not a sense of urgency to bring back Warren McClendon Jr., so you're not bidding against yourself. On top of that, you could kick one of those guys in at guard if something goes wrong. So in a Super Bowl winning season, like that helps, right? There are different avenues to go about it. The worst thing you could possibly do is draft solely for need. That is the worst thing the Rams can do, and I don't believe they're going to do that.
Well, Jake, we got a lot of supers.
Yeah.
So
damn.
We'll get
lighting up like a Christmas tree in here.
We'll get to those. But yeah, I mean, to touch on some of your points, I agree. And I saw some people in the chat saying that you and I don't want Lemon and all that. And we'll talk about that, at a different time. But I don't think it's so much that. It's more just questioning what the Rams are going to do at number 13 and kind of the type of receiver that they're looking for. But I think that will entirely depend on who they might be able to sign in free agency.
Yeah, and I'm just going to address this real quick. It has nothing to do with Robert Woods. If I think about this, is Lemon that much better than everybody else? The answer is no, he's not. He's not. There's not one receiver in this draft that's astronomically better than everybody else. There's not a Jeremiah Smith in this draft. There's not a Calvin Johnson. There's not a Larry Fitzgerald. There's not an AJ Green. Okay. So because of that, if I have to make the tough decision, I have to get nitpicky deciding between Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon and Cooper and hell, even Kenyon Sadiq. Hate to break it to you, but I'm still going to be focused on guys like their blocking ability and their functional strength and their ability to win against press coverage. And that's where I tend to land with Lemon. It doesn't mean that he can't develop. It doesn't mean he can't be a good player. And it doesn't mean that I would have an issue if they drafted him. I'm just saying, from me trying to project him, I have no doubt he's going to succeed in the league in some capacity. He might not be an all-pro receiver, but he's going to succeed. I think all these guys are going to succeed because they all, possess one thing. Just right off the rip, they all create separation. And that, to me, if I've learned anything over scouting over the years, it's that I will take the separation wide receiver all day over the big bad, I'm going to out physical. No, you're not, because you're going to go in the NFL and you're going to realize you're not the biggest guy on the playground. And all of a sudden, the thing that you did so well in college isn't going to translate. We see it all the time. What's his name? Oh my God, I cannot remember his name. The receiver that was drafted by the Patriots.
When?
Oh my God, out of Arizona State, I think.
Oh, Harry.
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
Immediate, like I had a feeling that I was right on him. I did not believe he would succeed in the NFL because he could not separate. Another guy, Traylon Burks. I know he's trying to revitalize his career and he's looked interesting as of late, but Traylon Burks at Arkansas could not separate. These guys struggled, right? The guys that separate, Terry McLaurin, I'm watching him at the Senior Bowl. Alexis, the one-on-ones, it was just a thing of beauty. You're watching him get off the line of scrimmage, the rocker step. You see it immediately. You're like, that guy's going to work out in the NFL. Sure enough, he is. So it doesn't necessarily mean everyone who separates is going to be an all-pro, but it is the best way to determine if a guy is going to work out in the NFL. And all of those guys that I mentioned, all four of them, can separate. So I'm not saying that Mekhi Lemon can't be something. I'm just saying if I'm trying to decide between the four receivers and the tight end and Kenyon Sadiq, the tiebreaker, when I'm being nitpicky, is going to come down to blocking. It's going to come down to route running, yards after the catch, right? Can you play on the outside? These things matter. And so it's not that I'm just out on Lemon. It's that I think Jordan Tyson has the nod, but then you start to talk about Tyson's injuries, and that's where it gets interesting. So we could go back and forth all day, and it's a lot of fun to talk about it. But let's get to the supers. We got a broccoli coming in from Tyler Sweeney. Appreciate you. If Jordan Tyson, Kenyon Sadiq are both there at 13, who would you pick and why? Oh, man.
It's tough because I really don't have a confident answer.
I would confidently say Kenyon Sadiq because I don't have to worry about the injuries.
I think I lean that way too. Well, I don't know though, because it's like Tyson gives you something in the receiver room you don't have, but you're right. Like if you can't trust that he's going to stay healthy, and I like the idea of pairing Sadiq and Ferguson. I think that's really fun having them.
Of course you like that.
Well, I do love reuniting college teammates in the NFL. It's like it makes my heart skip a beat. As you know, but also I just think that then you've got two young tight ends. They both give you a lot of value. You're going to have them at least for a long time. I think the reason that I'm a little bit jaded about potentially taking a tight end at 13 is you just go and re-sign Tyler Higbee. Colby Parkinson was mostly productive for you last season.
Yeah.
You've got Terrence Ferguson. I guess then in this situation, you go ahead and get rid of Davis Allen, right? Like, I don't think
I think you keep 5 tight ends.
I don't love it. I think I'm too caught up on at number 13 getting somebody that fills more of a need, and it feels like, yeah, you get a really good player in Sadiq, but then it's like my brain wants to like shuffle around the tight end room and try to make room for maybe a different position, if that makes sense. Like it's fine, but it's just not. It's a little. I'd be a little jaded about it. I don't know, and it has nothing to do with Sadiq because he's awesome and he would help the Rams a lot. But I think like I don't know, because I also kind of want the Rams to trade back.
Because I'll throw this at you. Back when we were watching the St. Louis Rams, do you remember they used to keep 5 tight ends every year?
Yeah.
It was a different time, right? They ran a lot of 12 personnel. They still had 13 personnel. Obviously, the Rams are the first team in a while to really kind of identify as a 13 personnel team. Guess what? That's 3 starters or 3 key players on the field at the same time. I think you could justify having 2 backups. And you don't even have to have backups. You could have that crazy rotation next year. I honestly think, don't be surprised. Do not be surprised they go down that rabbit hole. I just can't picture Sean McVay passing him up. Like, I feel like he's just going to be sitting there and and he knows he can't help it. There's just, they wanted Bowers. Like, Sadiq is so similar.
I do think if it came down, like if the Rams were deciding between the two, I think they'd take Sadiq.
Yeah.
Over Tyson.
And I think Tyson's a great fit, but after the A.J. Brown stuff about the injury, I'm spooked. I don't think they're going to take Tyson now. And I would actually consider taking Tyson with the injury. I would. Now, understand when I say injury, I'm not saying he actively has like a brutal injury that he's coming off of, but we're talking about a guy that transferred from Colorado after he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. Okay. He broke his collarbone in college. He's had, concussions. He's had all sorts of hamstring stuff. He's never played a full season. Like, the best ability is availability. If I only get you on the field for 9 games out of the 21 that we're going to play, hopefully, I mean, that's not really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Tyler, great question. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
El Miko, thank you for the broccoli here. Jake, I love you, brother, but you sleeping on Mekhi. He will be the best wide receiver out of this class. Well, he very well could be. I don't think I'm sleeping on him, though. I
don't think
it's
we're
like
sleeping on him. I think it's just like the type of receiver he is versus what the Rams need. Like,
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it's not so much about Lemon and more about building out the Rams offense. I also fully, if he's there at 13, think the Rams probably would draft him.
I think the Rams are going to really like him, and they'll just figure it out if they draft him. Like, I could see that. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to say something that I feel really confident in, and a lot of USC fans are going to hate me. I mean, and they already know this. I think Omar Cooper Jr. is a better version of him. I think they make about the same amount of guys miss in space. Cooper Jr. had Surratt, so that's why he didn't have the production. But I mean, you saw last year, there were games, he had 4 touchdowns in a game. Cooper Jr. is a better blocker. I would say he's not as good of a route runner, but he's a pretty good route runner. And I would say he's faster than Mekhi Lemon. The thing that Mekhi Lemon does that I like more than anybody, and I mean, it is not even close. He has the best route pacing, like the deceleration I've ever seen from a prospect. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a wide receiver have the start and stop, the deceleration, the pacing that Mekhi Lemon runs his routes with. He can stop on a dime. He's so methodical. Like, that matters. And then at the same breath, I don't think I've ever seen a running back with the contact balance that Omar Cooper Jr. has. He does not go down. So, I don't know. But again, I'm not really sleeping on Mekhi because, I mean, you just heard me gush about him. I think he's a really good player. I just think it's, you got to find what is the best fit for you. I do believe in just drafting the best player available, but I think the Rams also have to be honest with themselves. Like, if it's this close, they have to make a decision. Eliminating the guy that can only really play in the slot makes sense versus the guy who might be on the same level or maybe a little bit below him, but he can play multiple positions at wide receiver. So I don't know. That's just my take. Awesome, Bill. Thank you for the broccoli. Could you see us grabbing Bosa or Jordan for edge depth, and what other cornerback free agent? I don't know. What say you, Alexis?
I don't think so to any of that. Well, I don't know. Maybe I haven't thought about Bosa at edge. I don't think we get another corner as a free agent. I do think that we draft a corner. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if we drafted a corner in like the 2nd or 3rd round, personally. But I think at some point we'll draft a corner, but I don't think so in free agency. What about you?
I think they'll probably sign somebody in free agency, probably the 3rd wave of free agency. They've done this before. Like, they signed Nickel Roby-Coleman very late. They got a great deal on him. So I feel like they'll do something like that. They've also done it, like Akello Witherspoon was a good, pickup as well, back in 2013. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. I think when it comes to edge depth, I don't see Bosa because Bosa just played his first season, I think, without missing a game. He is going to cash in on that, or at least he's going to try to. I think he's probably looking for a 1 year, $25 million deal, and that makes no sense for the Rams. And then Cam Jordan does make sense because at this point in his career, he's trying to win a Super Bowl. I know there's probably some deep-seated hatred towards the Rams for the NFC Championship game, but I think Cam Jordan makes a lot of sense because of the familiarity factor, the veteran leadership and all of that. I don't know. I think that would probably be my best guess right now if they were going to go with an edge. Also, I guess you could look at Leonard Floyd, who's had experience with the Rams. You could see something like that. My guess is we're trying to leave no stone unturned. I think a lot of us are trying to, literally fill in all the cracks. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Rams view their roster the way we do. So, I think it's that simple. Like, we could be sitting here saying, wow, we really need a wide receiver 3. And they could be sitting here like laughing and saying, no, Mumfield's going to take a huge step and we're going to show you. Like, I don't know. I don't think that, but I know from the linebacker perspective, they're sitting there like everybody wants a linebacker and they're like, no, we're not doing that. I think they could go edge though. Like, I think they could go after the guy out of Michigan in the second round. I could see that. I'm blanking on his name.
Moore?
Yes, Moore. I think he would be a really good fit. I know another Michigan Wolverine, but I think he'd be a really good fit in the rotation. They did bring back Kier Thomas. Desjuan Johnson was playing out of his mind at the end of the season. Now fully moved over at edge. Do they really need another one? I mean, I don't know. I think that's the thing. Like, I was nitpicky about the pass rush, but now that the corners are better, I mean, you could really see improvement. You could really start to see more sacks next year. It's, less amount of time to have to cover, because when you're covering guys, first read, second read, quarterback doesn't know what to do. Boom, there's Jared Verse. So I don't know. But that's definitely interesting. And then we got Zaylor Swift coming in with the broccoli here. Give me Tyreek Hill, please. He's not a diva. Needs a restart. Reminds me of OBJ. Might be good for Mumfield too. Here's my thing. I don't like, and it's not anything against you, Zaylor. I don't like how everyone just kind of associates Odell Beckham Jr. with people that have had off the field issues. Odell's never had an off the field issue in his life. Like, he got, unfortunately, people like the older crowd, especially like the older Giants fans, hated the way he carried himself. He was just a very vibrant personality, very loud. But he was never a bad dude. Like, Tyreek Hill has some really troubling stuff off the field. And so for that reason, I couldn't, I couldn't get behind signing him.
Yeah, I'm out.
You're like, for that reason, I'm out.
For that reason, I'm out.
With Stephon Diggs, it's kind of the same vein. He's got a lot of legal stuff going on right now. If all of that ended up working out and turns out he was totally fine and like you didn't have to worry about anything, I'd consider it. But I'm not trying to sign a guy who's in the middle of a legal tug of war right now.
It very much sounds like he very much is not innocent in that situation. So for that reason, I'm out.
Nice. We got Shark Tank in the house.
Yep.
Now you just have to answer it like that. Like the draft show.
Yeah.
Like, like we'll be sitting there. Hey, what do you think about Ty Simpson? And you'll be like, for that reason, I'm out. Zaylor Swift coming in with another broccoli. Appreciate you. We definitely trading back. Lemon isn't worth 13th pick. Ooh, that's some fighting words there. That's why we were looking at Brown and shopping for starting wide receivers. I wouldn't say he's not worth the 13th pick. And I don't think that's why they were looking at Brown. I think they're leaving no stone unturned when it comes to going out and getting players that can maximize their chance of winning a Super Bowl.
I think that they're looking at wide receivers because genuinely, when I look at the draft board, I just don't know that any fall to 13. And I don't think the Rams are willing to trade assets to move up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're sitting there, if you see a receiver or two go off the board and you're at 13, you're like, all right, let's trade up to 10. Like, I just don't think that they're going to do that. So I think in their mind, they're locked in at 13 or going to trade back. So I just don't think that, I don't think it has them anything to do with maybe their value on Lemon so much as just who is going to be available there. That makes sense.
If we're following the Rams trend of like not drafting a wide receiver in the first round, not drafting them early, I kind of feel like they're going to end up with, if they go this route and they wait, I kind of feel like they'll end up with a Bryce Lance or like a Ted Hurst. Maybe Chris Brazel, but I think Brazel's going to go in the first round. People are not going to be ready for it. You have a 6'5" guy that can sink his hips and can run routes and create separation like that. He's not falling to the second. I know a lot of people want him to fall to the second. I think some people have it in their mind he's going to fall to the third because some mock draft thinks he's going to. He's not. He's probably going to go in the first round. That's just the way it is. We got a tangerine from Matthew. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Matthew.
And we have good evening. Good to see you both. I agree about Durant as CB3 for interception ability. Love the bigger, good tackling cornerbacks. Even if the receiver catches the ball, they make them pay. Wide receiver 3 is more important now than it was, so address it. I agree. We're definitely on the same page with Jawan Jennings.
We are, and I agree about Durant. I mean, I really would have liked him to have come back. But, I think that he got a lot of attention in free agency, so good for him. I think he's going to have more of an opportunity to play, obviously, in Dallas, but it's a bummer. I did want the land shark back.
Yeah, I was not expected to be that bummed out, but when I saw him sign with Dallas, I was like, oh, that actually kind of stings. Like, I wasn't expecting it. Same thing, Roger McCreary signing for like the vet minimum pretty much with the Lions. Wasn't expecting that either. But like, does that not tell you like the Rams are just totally like moving on from this cornerback room? Like Emmanuel Forbes is too good to pass up on because he's cost effective and he's still under control. But like they're clearly just moving off. I don't think Akello's gonna be back. I've said that. I'd love to see him back. I don't see it happening. But yeah, it just feels like they're trying to start anew. And also, I think the pickup of Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson could signal more man coverage. And if that's the case, that's a different archetype, Alexis, that they currently are going after. So I think that kind of changes everything. It changes who they could be interested in, and that could play a lot into it.
Well, I definitely stand, but I do think that they draft a corner early-ish. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see what they do the rest of free agency, but I do think they still, because you look at that cornerback room now, it's not done, right? You look at losing these guys and who's coming back. So we'll see, but it would be very interesting to see if they do kind of change up their typical style corner.
I want D'Angelo Pons.
I like him too.
I think
and he's going to go earlier than people think.
He's probably going to go in the first round. Like, it's...
I'm going the second.
He's going to go early second or late first, I think. Because it's not your stereotypical, like, this is not a great draft. So, in the past, like, he might have gone late, second round. But I think because there's not... Like, I could see him going in the first. I really could. I hope not. I mean, nothing against him. I want him to be available at 61.
What if,
I like
what if
him.
He got taken at 29?
What?
I said, what if he got taken at 29?
I mean, it is what it is, right? I think he's a perfect fit for the Chiefs because he literally plays like Trent McDuffie.
Yeah.
So, but I would also say Traden Stukes from Arizona, good size, 6'2", 200. And then Davison Igbinosun is going to get just so many mocks for him to go to the Rams because Michael Taylor, his assistant DB's coach, is with the Rams now. I could very much see it, but at the same time, he's so grabby. Like, I don't know if the Rams want that. Like, he could be a penalty machine. You know what I mean? And I understand, like, well, Jake, he's not going to play right away. Yeah, but what if they need him to? Because, hate to break it to you, and I love both pickups, but McDuffie finished the season on IR, okay? And Jalen Watson has had his own issues, injury-wise. So both these guys have dealt with injuries. So if, God forbid, you need to start a rookie and Igbinosun is out there with Jackson Smith and Jigba, it's not going to be good. There's going to be a lot of holding. Zaylor coming in with the blueberry here. How many 2- and 3-round picks for a first rounder? I'm not sure.
How many of those picks would you have to trade to get a first rounder? So, like, if we were to get another first rounder?
That would be weird. You already traded away one of them. I mean, you would have to trade your second, your third, and probably next year's second.
Yeah.
To get back into the first, and it'd be at the end of the first. So, like, it really, it's not worth it because it's not that type of draft. There's probably, if I'm being brutally honest with you, the top 15 players in this draft are probably first round talents. And after that, you're in second round territory. And I know people don't want to hear that because it's like they're getting so excited for the draft. And then I'm kind of weakening the draft. It's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to paint the picture, like, and why I see it the way I do. And I know I'm not the only one who sees it that way. So Tyler coming in with the broccoli here. Signing Jennings and drafting Sadiq would be my best case scenario. Who would stop that offense? Nobody. That'd
be fun.
You got triple towers there. I think everybody is over 6'2" at wide receiver. And then everybody's over 6'3" at tight end. Like, that would be nuts.
Yeah.
I still think if there's any way the Rams can pull it off, they should really just try and get the best player. And to me, obviously Caleb Downs would be like, I think he's the best player in the draft. But my second player in this draft is Jeremiah Love. I would love to see them just jump up in front of Tennessee. Like, Tennessee's just like, nah, we got him. He's at 4. He's just and then the Rams jump him and be like, are you kidding me? Like,
but you'd have to trade with the Cardinals.
That's true.
Don't think would ever happen.
I think it could.
And also, I love Jeremiah Love more than anybody. Everybody knows this. He's from my hometown. He went to my favorite school, Notre Dame. Like, I've been a Jeremiah Love fan since he started at Notre Dame. So I love Jeremiah Love. I think he's going to be a generational talent. I truthfully think he is going to be an absolute freak in the NFL. I don't know that I can justify trading up that high to draft him when we have a running back room that we like and we have, like, other team needs. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm trading up
that's fair.
High, I'm probably taking Sonny Styles, if I'm being honest. Like, if I'm trading up to the top 5.
That's interesting.
If I'm trading up to the top 5, I'm taking somebody who's filling a need and who is going to, I was going to say contribute right away. I mean, Jeremiah Love would contribute right away, but then you got to kind of change your whole running back room.
Well, I trade Blake Corum.
I would trade Blake Corum too. So you could justify it. But I just think, like, if I'm trading up, I don't think that the Rams are going to trade up to 3. I don't foresee a situation where the Cardinals hand the Rams Jeremiah Love unless it's for, like, an insane picks haul, right? Like, it would have to be.
I mean, you could do it for a second in next year's second. because you're only moving up 10 spots.
I don't know.
And it's a weak draft. So, like, that's where I'm kind of like, you know what? If they did that, and by the way, okay, Daniel Jeremiah has been throwing this out there. Like, the Rams could potentially do that. I understand it's kind of like having fun this time of year. I can't unsee something like that. Like, the Rams are the ultimate wild card because they're the only team in the top 15 that genuinely doesn't have a pressing need that could cost them their chances at a Lombardi trophy. They could theoretically do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, I can't see a world where a division rival lets you trade up all the way to number 3, and that doesn't involve another first round pick the following year. Like, it just doesn't. It's for somebody like Jeremiah Love. Like, if I'm handing them that prospect to a division rival, like, you are giving me a ton of compensation. Now, if, maybe it was like the Cardinals go ahead and some people think they're going to take an offensive tackle, right? Maybe they go ahead and do that. Okay, so then you're the Titans at number 4. The Titans probably aren't as stingy in giving the Rams a player like Jeremiah Love because they're not in the same division. But you still, like, I just don't see a situation where it does not cost the Rams a ton of assets to trade up that high to take Jeremiah Love. And I also don't think if they're trading up that high, I think that they would be going for someone like Sonny Styles. Personally, I just don't think they're gonna, like. I still think they're trading back. So you have to remember that's where I'm coming from. Is like, I don't think the Rams.
I mean, I could definitely see that.
I think that they're looking to trade back, but listen, I would be overjoyed to have a backfield of Jeremiah Love and Kyren Williams. I think they would complement each other great. I don't think it would impact the way that Kyren Williams is used. To be honest, I think that we saw this season that they kind of upgraded the way that he was used. He got a lot more involved in the receiving game, showed that he's pretty good there. So I think they would use them differently, but I don't see it. I don't know that the Rams are really.
I feel like having a running back like Todd Gurley again extends Matthew Stafford's shelf life.
I mean, you would just have to you would have to trade Blake Corum. I don't see a way. I don't see a world where
that's fine. I would get a third rounder from him for him the same day.
I mean, I would too, but
he's better than most of the running backs, if not all the running backs not named. I would say Jeremiah Love and Price.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Mike Washington too.
I like Jonah Coleman. I'm convinced he's going to the Seahawks, by the way. I just want everyone to remember that I'm saying the Seahawks are going to go after Jonah Coleman.
I like Emmett Johnson, I think is his name, Nebraska. He's got some crazy tape. Like, he has runs on his film where you're like, that might have been the best run in college football this year. Like, it's insane. And no one's really talking about him. I think Emmett Johnson is a player the Rams could be interested in because he's so different than what they currently have in that running back room. But no, like, my thing here, my entire argument is that, and I'm not even saying that this is 100% what the Rams should do, but if the Rams did trade up to get him at number 3 and they got Jeremiah Love, I feel like that would be them saying, you know what? This is going to be the last chance we have to get a blue chip prospect in the first round. We're just not normally picking this high. And this draft especially, it's a lot of good, not great. There are maybe 2 blue chip prospects in this draft. And the 2 blue chip prospects that would have been top 5 players on the board every year is Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs. If they ended up with either of those guys, the Rams made off like bandits. Because they, in a draft that doesn't have a ton of absolute blue chip elite tier prospects, they came away with one of the 3. One of the two. That's my argument as to why I can totally understand it and justify it.
I mean, listen, like I said, I would not be angry if the Rams, the only way that I would be annoyed, I think, if the Rams got Jeremiah Love is if you give up an insane haul for him to move up that far, or if like they traded Kyren Williams or something, which they wouldn't do. So,
no, they would probably trade Blake Corum. Actually, that would be interesting because they kept James Conner and they signed Tyler Algier, but with Mike LaFleur there and his, his stamp on the run game, you could argue throwing Blake Corum into that deal, that sweetens the pot. Because you're talking about a 700 to 800 yard rusher last year. And I mean, he offers the explosiveness that you're not getting with Algier. Algier is they kind of have two of the same running back in Algier and Connor. So I actually think that would make some sense. You get picks and Corum. It wouldn't be a flip-flop.
Well,
but
so you have to think that, like, I mean, you would still have to give. I still think even if you offer Blake Corum, you would have to still give
2 seconds.
Yeah, and probably some late picks. I don't think you're.
Oh yeah. I mean, who cares about that?
It would get kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I think the more realistic scenario for the Rams getting Jeremiah Love is that if the Cardinals take a tackle, or they don't for whatever reason take Jeremiah Love, because we know Love isn't going 1 or 2, right? So when the Cardinals don't take him, I think that you have a better chance negotiating that with the Titans, and you have a relationship with the Titans. We've made several trades with them before. They're not in our division. And like, you look at like Jeremiah Love makes so much sense to the Titans, but say they entertain it, like Blake Corum would be running back 1.
Well, that's also true.
There. So
what if that's a smokescreen? What if the Titans actually just want to trade down and they're going to just tell everybody, because this is apparently the worst kept secret, that they want Jeremiah Love? I mean, that's what you do, right? I mean,
it could be. Now, listen, I do think that the Titans should take Jeremiah Love. If I'm looking at this objectively, I think adding Jeremiah Love and Cam Ward, and they've made some really good signings at wide receiver and what they're doing over there, it makes too much sense for me to believe it's a smokescreen. But you could go to Tennessee and you could say, hey, we'll give you Blake Corum, we'll give you our 2nd round pick, we'll give you next year's 2nd round pick, and maybe like some late round picks this year, next year. Then you could make the argument that the Titans take that, because then they're getting more assets back and they're going to see if Corum can be their running back 1.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. We kind of went on a tangent with this, but I don't think that it will happen. So I don't. That's just hypothetical.
So Zaylor is coming in with the blueberry here. Jennings wants 20 mil. I don't know, man. Give me D-Hop. D-Hop is a dinosaur.
Yeah. Is that also a confirmed number, though, for Jennings?
Everybody's been saying that, because that was like him and Romeo Dobbs were looking for that. I don't know. I mean, I personally wouldn't mind giving him that money, because here's how easy you could do this. You ready? If you put 3 more void years onto Devontae Adams' deal, and you turn that bonus money into, you turn the salary into bonus money, you could free up about $10+ million in cap space. That's half of that contract. Jennings, to me, is going to want a 1-year, $20 million deal. If he wants the $20 million that bad, he's probably looking for a 1-year deal. If he wants a 2 or 3-year deal, because keep in mind, he's getting close to 30 now. I don't know, man. I think having Jennings as wide receiver 3 would just be absolutely game changing, because it's not even that like he's something that can't be replicated. It's the fact that he does everything Sean McVay wants in a wide receiver. Like, he's got the height, he's got the separation ability. He's not super fast, but he's just good at separating. And also, he makes contested catches. And also, he scores in the red zone. So he's another red zone threat to provide. And also, he might be the best blocker in the league. He's outstanding. He's been outstanding. This is why, for years, by the way, I kept saying Debo's overrated. Pay Juwan Jennings. Let Debo go. And I know there are people out there like, I want Debo Samuel on the Rams. Please no.
Nope.
Please no. But if they do that, I honestly would not be shocked at this point. Wouldn't be shocked. Again, the Commander connection. At some point, I feel like that's gonna pay off. I keep connecting it, but it's not gonna be who I want. That's normally how things go. Appreciate you, Zaylor. Deb coming in with the tangerine. Appreciate you, Deb. First, welcome back. I would love Jennings, and please stop mentioning Brown. You know how I feel. LOL. Agree, though. We need a wide receiver 3. I was hoping Jay Witt would have been better. My thing about Jay Witt is that I think he is better than giving credit for. They don't utilize him. They just don't.
Yeah.
He's a good blocker. He is a gadget guy. He creates separation. He makes plays after the catch. He's built like kind of that running back style. He kind of is similar to Debo Samuel, but for whatever reason, the Rams just don't utilize him. I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree.
88 problems. Shake my head.
88 problems.
Deontay coming in here with the broccoli. Given
Thank
some
you.
of the concerns around Puka's maturity last season, I think having another veteran like Jennings in the wide receiver room could be beneficial. Yes, but Jennings also is a little bit of a diva with the contract negotiations with the 49ers. So, I don't know. I like where your head's at. I mean, let's be honest. He's got Devontae Adams. Like, that is...
Yeah.
After Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams is probably one of the best veteran wide receivers to have because, and you'd probably say Mike Evans is next. I mean, talking about just crazy workout regimen. I mean, this dude works his tail off. He keeps himself in great shape. And I know, and I've changed my opinion about him because I don't like when players just hop around teams. I think it normally is a bad look on them. But I mean, he wanted to get paid by the Packers. Aaron Rodgers wanted him to get paid by the Packers. And Matt LaFleur wanted him to get paid by the Packers. And the Packers refused to pay him. So he was traded to the Raiders to be with Derek Carr and, you know, his teammate from Fresno State. And the Raiders are horribly run. So I think it was all sunshine and rainbows, leaving Aaron Rodgers like, that sucks. But I'm like back with my college teammate. Derek Carr starting to kind of decline a little bit. And then on top of that, the Raiders are poorly run. Then goes to the Jets. And that has the worst ownership in professional sports, in my opinion. I think Woody Johnson's the worst owner in professional sports. He's awful.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think you do have that veteran in the room. And I'm really not too worried about Puka Nakua's maturity. I'm just not. I mean, people were mad at him partying and whatnot. It's like, he's a kid in LA. This is gonna happen. Yeah, guys. Jared Verse does this stuff. Like, Jared Verse is out. He's party. There are guys that party. Like, it happens. You know, and I just think that it was a little unfair, the kind of pressure that was put on Puka Nacua, but that's just my opinion. Zaylor Swift coming in with the blueberry. Unless Sadiq is the next, Bowers or Warren, then no. Well, he's different than Warren. Bowers he's similar. I think he's actually a better blocker than Bowers, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's no way to know until you know, right? Like,
yeah.
Unless you have a time machine, I don't really know if you're going to be able to find that one out. But appreciate you. And then Sky High, thank you for the blueberry. Do we see some Jarquez Hunter this season? I'd like to see him.
I don't know. I mean, I think like if the running back room stays the way it does, we probably don't see him as much. I think that the goal was kind of always to have Kyron and Blake working as a duo in there, but you never know. I mean, they drafted him pretty high.
They
But
traded up to get him.
I mean, I stand by what I've always said about the Jarquez Hunter pick, and I'm very confident in saying that, that pick was a heat check on the Kyron Williams contract, and then the contract ended up happening, and then you didn't see Jarquez Hunter. So do with that what you will. But I think regardless, you drafted him high, you need to use him, and at least get him in there on like third downs. But it's also tough because like if you got Ronnie Rivers, right, I don't know.
Well, now he's a free agent, but I'm sure he'll be back. He just keeps finding his way back to the Rams.
I think he will. So we'll see, but I'd like to see him.
Yeah. Appreciate you. That Curdy became a YouTube member. Much love. Appreciate you. And DSXZE coming in with the broccoli to wrap us up here. Second round, I really love Kyle Lewis, Josiah Trotter, Jake Slaughter. I'm a strong fan of Derek Moore like you. I really like Zion Young as well. I haven't watched Zion Young yet. Kyle Lewis, just, I don't know. I can picture him as a Ram. He's that kind of coverage guy that I think we all would love to see in that linebacker room. Josiah Trotter is an absolute monster against the run. He is a liability in coverage. Jake Slaughter could very well be a pick for them at center because Coleman Shelton's in the final year of his deal. And I think Derek Moore would fit in that rotation like a damn glove. So there are definitely going to be players that I start really wanting to gravitate towards. But the Rams went from having 2 first-round picks to, man, after they pick in the first, second, and third, they don't pick until the 6th round.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of why I think that I just feel that they're going to trade back from 13. Now, whether that's further back in the first or they're going to be, grabbing more second or third round picks, I don't know. But I do think they'll trade back. I like all of those prospects. Jake Slaughter, I've mocked him to the Rams a lot in the second. Because
he's got a great name.
I think that he's a starting center quality prospect. Like, I think that he could have a very good career starting at center in the NFL. So I think if you can grab him and use him for the future, or God forbid there's an injury, right? I love all those guys.
Yeah, I like all those names. We got a buzzer beater one coming in with the lemon, not Makai Lemon. It is Paul. Thank you for the 10. If Ruben Bain Jr. falls to 13, I believe he's a Ram. Remember, Aaron Donald was too small. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. Bain is interesting. I actually like David Bailey more, but Bain has some good tape.
I like Bain a lot. I think that he is being slept on a little bit, and I don't think he'll be there at 13. I'd be very surprised if he was.
Yeah, I see him going like early.
I wouldn't be upset, to be honest, if that's the direction that the Rams win at 13. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be upset, if that makes sense.
That is fair. So the next one, because we got another one, Matthew with the broccoli here. Don't want to miss it. What is the date and time for the draft coverage? So when is the NFL draft?
So it's the 23rd. So it's the first night is April 23rd, and I think it starts at, I have it on.
Well, that always starts at 8.
Yep. So it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night, April 23rd.
Rounds 2 and 3 is at 7 on April 24th, Friday.
Yep.
And then noon to 7, rounds 4 through 7, Saturday, April 25th. And we'll be live for all of that.
We will. We'll be doing our annual draft tradition. Seen the comments tonight, everybody talking about it. It's like a very fun event. And
yes.
We have the picks, so like we do break picks.
What was the count last year? Was it like 40,000 viewers?
Yeah, I think we hit 40 last year. I'd have to go back
Crazy.
and look, but like we have like a lot of people come in from other fan bases have started coming in to watch our show just because
Yeah.
like I said, I mean it can get watching the NFL streams and ESPN, like those are great, but they have a whole other thing other than the draft that they do. So you kind of got to wait longer for picks where we usually get ours from the reporters on the ground who have the picks before the TV does, and so we try and get them out as quick as we can. We hang out, chat, we
It's
order
fun.
pizzas on day three.
Oh yeah.
Day three.
Unfortunately, I don't
Um,
have a 9 like out of 10 or that level pizza around me, but I'll make it
Neither
work.
do I. We just make it work, whatever we can get our hands on.
There is a really good pizza spot. It's like halal with pizza,
Oh yeah,
and it's like 10 minutes by me. I just found it and I was really impressed. I The best is Romo's, but it's like 40 minutes away from me. And here's a funny story. Dave Portnoy went there, right? He reviewed it like a 6.8 because they gave him the wrong pizza. They make that New Haven style that I love and Dave Portnoy absolutely loves. They gave him the regular by accident. So he only reviewed the regular. The freaking New Haven style is the greatest pizza I've ever tried. But he refused to. He went back and he tried it, and he's like, "Wow, this would have been such a much higher score." But he said he wasn't going to rescore it. I think that was lame. I think he should rescore it. Would have been in the nines. But yeah, I don't have a 9. That's like I said, it's like 40 minutes for me. I don't know if do you have any 9s around you?
not really near me. Not that I would order for the draft because it would take too long.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Cuz
like
like
when we're doing it, we just like get hungry and then want it, so
yeah,
let's order it.
exactly. Like you can't
Um,
just be like, "Yeah, I'll get the one that's 50
the
minutes away."
I know. But yeah, it'll be fun. So we will
Yes.
be, and our plan is to, we'll do some mock draft episodes before the draft, hopefully. So we usually do some mock drafts where we come on here and we have, PFF's draft simulator up, and Jake and I do a mock draft. We also then will do some episodes where we do like the fan vote. I think we did last year. We'll have everybody type in the chat who they want us to draft. So we'll do some mock drafts, but we will be live during the draft.
We got to
Um,
experiment, by the way, the multiplayer mock draft. I want to see if we could somehow
I haven't even
stream
heard of
that
it.
on
We should try
PFF.
that. Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, like it would be cool. Like we could just be like going against each other and be like, grading our mocks and whatnot. I think it'd be cool. I have no idea how to make all the logistics work there, but if we could, I think that would look really cool.
Well, guys, we'll try and we'll be back. But I think that's going to do it for us for the rest of the night. Thank you guys for tuning into our return from our hiatus after the season. It's nice to finally be talking about the off season. We had some fun things to talk about, but surely there will be more when we're back next week. But guys, as always, you can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter /X at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan. We are also both on Instagram. Jake is at JK Bogan. I am at Alexis Craft. We'll be back next week. But until then, guys, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.